or else you've got business here, or I'll have you arrested.
Have me arrested. That's my business right there.
Not worthless.
I don't know why you've tried to pick on everybody for over 20 years.
You better leave.
Familiar too. Hey, I guess you know why we're here.
No, I don't.
Well, obviously you went down to the school yesterday or something and had some kind of altercation. Anyway, so they took out a warrant on you. It's a misdemeanor, but you're gonna have to go with us.
You're serious?
I am serious.
They hadn't even served me yet with that. I just got it today.
I got it right here.
Word.
This is it. Supposedly you were trespassed or something. I guess, and then you came down there. According to the warrant, you came down there, and I guess you got into an altercation with the principal or something.
Well,
listen. Let me explain something to you, okay? I've been doing this for 39 years. All right, a warrant's just an allegation.
I know.
So just it's a misdemeanor. Just make it easy.
You homeschool your child for an entire year. You get involved like they tell you to. They take away the mask mandate. You send your son back to school. They reimpose a mask mandate with an opt-out. They then seemingly, at least it was seemed to, because I've heard the same stories you have, retaliate against your son because you opted him out by quarantining him with inaccurate symptoms. When you hold them accountable for that, the principal gets in your face and acts unprofessional. You file a formal complaint. She becomes aware of this formal complaint, drafts a letter that actually threatens you with aggravated criminal trespassing, which I believe is a felony.
It's a felony, yeah.
Hello there. We've all heard of Attorney General Merrick Garland's letter where he wants to militarize the FBI and use it against parents who speak up in school board meetings. We've also heard stories from Texas and Arizona where school boards have worked in unison with local police to build dossiers and conspire against parents who have been vocal against COVID mandates, CRT, and other things that these indoctrination centers are teaching our children. But for most of us, this is something that happens in a far-off place, something that's probably going on in New York or California. This would never happen in small-town Tennessee. Well, unfortunately, it is. Tonight, I speak with Adam Williams, who is a lifelong resident and a parent out of Rutherford County, Tennessee, who was recently arrested by someone at the Rutherford County school system. Is that correct, Adam?
Yes, it is.
So tell us how all this got started.
Yeah, sure. So in 2020, we homeschooled my son. After the challenges that presented for two working parents, and the fact that after our involvement in the school boards that spring and summer, the mask mandate for the county was actually being rescinded. So we decided to re-enroll my son in public school. About a month after that, they reinstated the mask mandates. But Governor Lee gave the residents and families of Tennessee the opportunity to opt out, so that's what we did. We opted out of the mask mandates for my son.
What happened after you opted out?
So probably just within a matter of days, my son was sent home with a letter from the nurse that he had multiple COVID symptoms and was going to be required to be under a 10-day quarantine where he wasn't allowed to attend school. The problem with that was that, based on what my son said, the symptoms on this form were inaccurate.
Okay. At this point, did you feel like they were maybe picking on your son because you had decided to opt him out?
You know, I struggled with that because you like to assume the best, people that are involved with your children. But I was hearing stories of people that I knew, people that I didn't know, that they had opted out, and not long after it, their children were quarantined as well for COVID symptoms. So there was a part of me that just, simply couldn't ignore that fact, especially considering my, visible and vocal involvement with the school boards against the mask mandates.
So, did you try to address these discrepancies with anyone at the school?
So when my son was coming back his first day after being out 10 school days, which really amounts to about 2 weeks of real time, I took him back that first Monday, and I asked to speak with the school nurse and the principal about this, those symptoms not being correct.
About the discrepancy.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, just had some questions about it and some concerns of, what this could mean if these inaccuracies are repeated with other people, not only my son. So, spoke with the school nurse for a few minutes. She was friendly, but wasn't able to give me any answers immediately. And at that time, the principal of my son's school, Miss Ford, came into the lobby, and that's, I guess, where this whole situation really started with her. This all played out in front of my son, his first day back after this quarantine. And I got so uncomfortable with her verbal attacks and just the aggressive nature of her, demeanor. I at one point asked her to please just kind of get out of my personal space.
At this point, did you start yelling at her face? Did you throw things? Did you become belligerent at any point?
No, not at all. I let her know that I felt that it was, unprofessional and not the right way to act in front of a child.
Did you take any formal action from this?
Afterwards, I did. I left and I investigated the proper recourse for filing a formal complaint, and that's what I did.
Who did you have to file this complaint with?
So the process for filing a complaint on a principal in the school system is done solely with the director of schools. Correct.
Do you think that Director Bill Spurlock took your formal complaint against Principal Ford seriously?
Honestly, with us being close to 6 weeks out from hearing anything in regards to that report that I filed, I can't in good faith believe that he took it seriously at all.
Okay, so it's been 6 weeks almost since you...
Almost 6 weeks, I've heard nothing from anybody.
Why do you think he didn't? Why do you think he's not taking it seriously?
Well, I can't help but feel like it's a direct result of my involvement with the school board. Back at the height of the mask mandates in spring, a group of parents and I took an alternate ruling from an adjacent county to Mr. Spurlock, and of course I've never interacted with the man ever. And this first interaction that we do have with him, first words he's ever said to me was, "Get out or I'll have you arrested."
Or else you've got business here, or I'll have you arrested.
Have me arrested.
That
Here,
looks-
that's my
that
business
is-
right
that's
there.
not worthless.
I don't know why you've tried to pick on everybody for over
I know
20
one
years.
thing, you better leave.
Have you had any other interactions with Director Spurlock between then and the time of this complaint being filed?
I started doing some research into the background of the director, and I uncovered some pretty uncomfortable things about him that I'm sure that the community probably would want to be aware of. And seeing as how I wasn't being heard or, interacted with my concerns, I took the information that I had found and I made them into giant memes on poster boards and took them to the next school board meeting in the fall.
So you uncovered some stuff about the Director of Schools. You put them on poster boards. Can you describe these poster boards?
Yeah, sure. They're, I would say probably the best way to describe them would be fiery but mostly peaceful youngsters.
So you file this complaint. The director of schools isn't taking it seriously. And then you get this, you show up to pick your son up from school, and they're all referencing some letter. And then you finally get this letter. And this letter describes an incident that happened in October. Can you describe the October the 20th?
Sure.
Can you describe what happened?
Yeah, so, I mean, it really wasn't much of an incident. I had come to pick up my son from the after-school program, so it was probably after 4 in the afternoon. And as I was walking through the parking lot to go pick him up, Principal Ford was leaving and passed me. And, you know, at this point, they know who I am, and she greeted me with what really felt like a passive-aggressive heckling. You know, I responded to her that, you know, I had followed through with the formal complaint, and she...
What did she do from that point? So you pass her going out.
Yeah.
She heckles you or is passive aggressive, says something to you, at which point you respond that you filed a complaint. What happened from that point?
She told me it don't matter.
She told you it didn't matter.
She told me that filing a complaint doesn't matter. And, you know, I questioned that. I said, how could you say that it doesn't matter? The way you acted towards me and in front of my
And
son.
this is happening in the parking lot?
Yeah, just as, you know, two people passing in a parking lot. Just
At any point on this incident, because I mean, they're banning you from the school for this. Did you make a threat? Did you
Absolutely.
harass her? Did she ever tell you to leave her alone?
I mean, well, much like the pattern of behavior again has been established, she said her smart aleck piece and then ignored me.
Okay. And how long did this interaction last? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Oh no, it was it had to be less than a minute.
Less than a minute.
Oh yeah.
Flash forward, 2 weeks later, you're picking your son up on November 3rd, and everyone is basically telling you need to leave after you picked your kid up. Police get called. They formally trespass you, and they reference this letter,
Yes.
which you had not received at that point.
Correct.
What happened the next day?
So-
After you've been trespassed from the school, you've been told about this letter, what happens?
I knew something, you know, was pretty serious with the way that everyone acted, so I got up and began contacting school board members and a few state reps and anybody that I should make aware of what had happened that day. I don't feel like, you know, any parent should be treated the way that I have been continually treated during this time. So probably not long after that morning, the mail came and I received this letter certified. The first thing that I noticed the problem with this letter is that it's addressed to my ex-wife's address where I've never lived.
Can you tell us what happened a couple of hours after you received this certified piece of mail?
Sure, yeah. I was doing some work from home and probably around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so maybe 4 hours later, I get a knock on the door and I am greeted by 2 sheriff's deputies that are ready to have me taken to jail thanks to a warrant here for my arrest. They referenced the incident the day before, and you know, we're pretty brief and general about it. I don't know that they knew the entirety of the situation, just that I had been on the school when I wasn't supposed to.
One question I got. I know
Sure.
I gotta go.
Sure.
So, They just served me with the trespass by certified mail today. I knew nothing about it when I went yesterday.
Okay, well that's in your, like I said, that's in your corner. That's in your favor. So, was it certified letter? Did it come
Yes,
certified? Well,
yes.
then you got proof of that. So, that if you got the letter, did you have to sign for it? Okay, you signed for it today. Your thing was yesterday.
I did it on video.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's a wake up call, man. Just don't be, man. They take that school stuff pretty serious. Dan used to be an
I
SRO.
do
He
too.
knows.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, I've got to hook you up, man. You want to slip some shoes?
Yeah.
on?
And now, it does say that any deviations from this have to be approved by the director of schools. That's the guy you made memes and posters about, isn't it?
It is indeed.
So does this create any issues for you, picking your son up from school?
Oh, absolutely. We pay for him to be a part of the after-school program, and I'm not allowed to go pick him up from that anymore. I'm not allowed to attend any school functions, whether they be on campus or not. And I've had to basically resort to dropping him off at the nearest bus stop.
It already seems like you haven't been given a fair shake. I am sorry that the General Assembly and the entire legislature has put you in a position that they did not handle all these issues before it got to this point.
I agree.
I also want to ask our audience and our friends to reach out and support you. Act Free Now is going to help provide for your criminal defense. We are also going to see what we can do about revoking this trespass warning and this threat of a felony for dropping your son off so that you can actually take your son to and from school. We're going to ask that anyone who wants to support Adam or anyone like Adam who has been treated unfairly by corrupt tyrants in the state of Tennessee, we want to help them, and we're going to ask for all of you guys to go to actfreenow.com/donate and help us fund Adam's legal defense to fight these clearly retaliatory charges and maybe hold some of these people accountable. For far too long, our public officials have been allowed to bully people with the system because the average person can't fight back. It's time that stops, and it's time we fight back. So, is there anything else that you really want to add, Adam?
I think the thing that I'm struggling with the most is the lack of communication, the ability to communicate with me and other parents. From all the way to the beginning to these interactions with this principal, where they try to bully you, but when they realize that you may not be a person that's going to be bullied easily, then they escalate with law enforcement, and it's quite the escalation. Here's the thing: as best I can, I try to live by treat everybody how you want to be treated. But sometimes when the situation arises, you have to treat people the way that they treat you, or your kindness can be taken for weakness. And it kind of just boils down to, after the series of events over the course of over a year, I'm not there to make friends. I'm just there to pick up my child from school.
Well, Adam, Mr. Williams, we appreciate that you are standing up for your son. We appreciate you standing up for all the people who maybe they can't stand up for their kids. And again, we want you to know that you have Act Free Now support, and that we are going to do everything we can to fight these ridiculous charges and to help you pick your son up from school like any normal 7-year-old deserves. So I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it means a lot to my family and I. We appreciate Act 3 now for everything that you guys have done for us.
Hey, well, it's what we're here for. So, all right.